Get your hands on stylish t-shirts, hoodies, and more at wearbuff.com. That's wearbuff.com. And make sure to use the promo code TWB at checkout for 20% off your first order. Stay Buffalo proud with Wear Buff.
The Buffalo Bills keep the win streak rolling, taking down the Kansas City Chiefs by a score of 30-21 this week on the Wandering Buffalo podcast.
You're now listening to the Wandering Buffalo podcast with your host, Justin Goddard.
Bills Mafia, welcome into another episode of the Wandering Buffalo podcast, a show on the Buffalo Fanbase Podcast Network. My name is Justin, and I am your host tonight on what is a very special episode, at least for us. This is our 200th episode. Just want to start off on the top here, thanking everybody that's been with us from the beginning, those of you who have joined us somewhere in between, and if this is your first episode, thanks for joining today. It's been a very special ride. It's been an awesome team to start following, and started this show, in the midst of COVID. It's always something I wanted to do. Ended up having, some of that free time, and a lot of people learned how to bake bread, which I still would love to do. And instead of learning how to bake bread, my buddy Jake and I fired up Bill's podcast, Andrew at the time, and 4 years later, here we are. And Jake and I started talking about this show a few weeks ago, just kind of trying to figure out what we could do special to really spice it up. And we're in the middle of the season, so we've kind of been following this game recap script. We look ahead a little bit. This just so happened to fall on Chiefs week. And what's more special than this 200th episode being on Chiefs week and the Bills taking them down in really, the scoreboard, it's a little bit closer than it would suggest, but for the games that the Bills have been able to beat the Chiefs, I feel like this was up there with one of the more, I don't want to say dominating, because it's not like, we fully controlled them this whole game. It was still a close game, but I guess kind of the most complementary game. It wasn't, the offense trying to put the team on the back and the defense coming up short. It wasn't the defense making stop after stop, but the offense was barely hanging in there. It was kind of a good all-around game. So for me, that was kind of what can make this week's episode special for it being the 200th episode. Taking down the only team in the league that was left undefeated, pretty special to me. We still wanted to do something else. So we do have, for a limited time, on our website, wanderingbuff.com, any of the merch available. We have a 25% off promo code. It is TWB200. Like I said, this is going to be a limited time offer. Just kind of a little thank you to all the fans that have been out there of the show. If you want to pick up any merch, like I said, TWB200. That promo code's going to be going for a couple weeks through the bye week. Check it out. A little thank you for supporting the show. Let's kind of get into the game here, and I'm not going to lean too much into things I didn't like in this game, because there certainly were things. But when you're talking about going up against, the only undefeated team in the league, there's gonna be some good and some bad, and you're expecting a fight, right? For me, I kind of want to stay in the positives here and just kind of enjoy the win. The breaking down film, seeing their mistakes, all that type of stuff, I'm going to leave up to McDermott and the team. And what I really want to start with here is the end of game sequence. And I know that's kind of the low hanging fruit. Josh Allen's absolutely incredible touchdown. but I really like the way it happened. So we'll start with the 3rd and 2 play. I'm already texting, my brothers, couple buddies, like, if this ends up in a 4th down, are you going for it? Because I'm not feeling good with that field goal. This honestly has nothing to do with Tyler Bass missing a PAT earlier in the game or any of the other struggles that he's had. I don't really see the advantage of going up 5 on the Chiefs. We've seen it so many times, and it's easy to be in like our own isolated chamber here of like how many times they've done that to us. But it's not just us. They do it to absolutely everybody. You feel good going up a little bit more towards the end of the game, and they score a touchdown with like nothing, leave no time left on the clock, and all of a sudden you felt good, and now you have a heartbreaking loss. So for me, didn't like the 3rd and 2 play of just handing it off to Ty Johnson, but you end up in 4th and 2, and I think this one from McDermott took some stones because, like, as much as he's been criticized in the past for not being aggressive, he has been aggressive. He's been aggressive with his defense and special teams and leaning on them to be the ones to fill up to finish out a game when you have Josh Allen. And I've been critical of that in the past. And, looking at this decision, like, we can sit here all we want and say, going up 5 isn't very comfortable. There still would have been a section of fans out there that, you know, had he gone for this and not gotten it, would have, and say the Chiefs score and win the game that way. There's still a section of fans out there that, would have been calling for his head again. And whatever. I think it's really easy to play the result. And I like to, at least with like my friends, get my opinion out there so I'm not, playing the result of like, yeah, I definitely would have gone for it there because they got it. I think this is a game where you've been burned by the Chiefs too many times in the past. You have Josh Allen, put the ball in his hands, let him try to make a play, and if you don't convert it, at least you're going down swinging. And I love that McDermott put the ball in Josh Allen's hands. And what he did afterwards is, when you talk about those special plays that only Josh Allen makes, that's one of them right there. Like, he's showing speed, he's showing physicality, he finishes the play. There's times on that play that he could have slid and avoided contact. But, once he's past that first level, you can kind of like feel it rising in the crowd. You knew that was a touchdown. And then after that absolutely incredible play, there's still something like 2 minutes left on the clock. And yes, it's a 2-score lead, but it's still Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, and they do crazy things. And you had on the offensive side of the ball, your captain kind of calling game with that Josh Allen run. On the other side of the ball, you come right back with your other captain, Terrel Bernard, sealing the game with his interception. And I just love the way that worked out. That it's kind of an unconventional thing for teams to only have 2 captains. The Bills do it this year. And in the biggest moment of the season thus far, you had your 2 captains being the ones to call game. And I absolutely just love how all of that played out. Now you don't get to 30-21 with, just Josh Allen and Terrel Bernard. I thought it was a good game overall on several fronts. I think the offensive line today was awesome in pass protection. And that's kind of in coordination with Josh Allen. There are some, free runners coming, and the way Josh Allen manipulates the pocket helps out the offensive line and also makes it harder for an offensive line sometimes when he's really holding out to the ball and you don't know where he's going behind you. So I thought they worked in great combination today. Defensive line also, as a unit, I think did a great job of getting after Mahomes, staying disciplined in their rush plan, using the quarterback spy. So when he starts getting on the edge, crashing down and making that tackle. And, Patrick Mahomes doesn't always get talked about for, his running ability. He doesn't do it the same way, Josh Allen does, but he is a quarterback that will use his legs to pick up a third down, keep the chains moving. And, he might not be running through cornerbacks and whatnot, but he can make you pay with your legs. So thought they did a great job containing Patrick Mahomes into the pocket. When you talk about in the passing game, just they have like two absolute legends receiving passes for them in Travis Kelce and DeAndre Hopkins. The two of them in this game combined for 5 catches and 37 yards, no touchdowns. And I think you absolutely love to see that. And it's the Chiefs, right? Reigning Super Bowl champions. You got Andy Reid, you got Patrick Mahomes. They're dealing with injuries of their own, but there's no team in the league that like fully shuts this team down. They're gonna get theirs, right? And I like the defense's ability to limit what those two players did, knowing what caliber players they are, and kind of saying, beat us with Xavier Worthy, beat us with McCole Hardman and Noah Gray. And those players had a day for themselves. They came up on the wrong side of an L here. And one thing I will say is, going into this week, it was kind of a weird week for Chiefs week because this is the game we get hyped for, right? And I think even as a fan base, it kind of shows where the Bills are at right now, where a lot of the fan base, like, we acknowledge, like, this game is meaningful, right? Like, winning the game keeps the chances of the 1 seed open. It's, this bitter rivalry that's developed, but it's ultimately become, like, we've taken them down in the regular season before, let's see it in the playoffs. So, like, even getting this big, meaningful win, it's still kind of like, okay, let's take our 24 hours to celebrate and carry on to the bye week, get healthy. And it it just feels different with this win. In previous years, taking down the Chiefs was like this big, huge celebration. We'd be on Monday, like, did it. David took down Goliath, all that stuff. And right now it's like, I'm not too high from winning this game. If we lost the game, I wouldn't be too low because I just want to see that next matchup. I want to see it when all the chips are on the tables. And to me in this game overall, this felt like the most complete game that we've ever played against the Chiefs. And I think this game can translate to the playoffs. Now, the one thing I will say that I would like to see if we match up against them in the playoffs again is getting this run game going. And statistically, not a great game on the ground for really any of the Bills backs. But they were able to have impactful plays, right? So James Cook ends the game with something like 20 yards rushing. But he is able to run the ball in the red zone 2 times, 2 touchdowns. And in 2 very different ways. One, the play's pretty much dead in the backfield, and he's able to just out-athlete the Chiefs to get the corner and run it in using his speed. And his second one was a straight physical dropping his shoulder, not being denied at the goal line. And any of you that watch Good Morning Football out there, we know that James Cook won the Angry Run Scepter last week. And I would say that that touchdown is in contention for getting 2 in a row. Daquan Jones and Ed Oliver, I think, have kind of had a quieter start to the season here, and they're not going to show up huge in the box score here, but they were both in the backfield being disruptive all game long. Patrick Mahomes' first interception, he's got Daquan Jones hanging all up around his waist when he's releasing that ball. Taylor Rapp able to come away with the pick. I thought this was a fun game for Curtis Samuel. And again, this was kind of like the everyone eats game to me. And it wasn't like these eye-popping stats from Curtis Samuel, but he was a reliable target. He had 5 catches on 6 attempts for 58 yards, has a touchdown, and several of these catches that he made were keeping a drive alive and getting a first down. And, you know, I don't like leaning into too much of the injury conversation because we can easily say, you know, the Chiefs planned on having Hollywood Brown. Rashee Rice went down for the season. They kind of did a similar thing in adding Hopkins as the Bills adding Amari Cooper. But the Bills were dealing with injuries of their own. You know, no Coleman in this game, no Kincaid, Spencer Brown out, Ryan Vandermark getting his first start. Matt Milano still out. Dwayne Carter. You know, there's injuries all over the place for the Bills. And I think kind of getting this win and going into the bye week on this high as you're, you know, gearing up to get a lot of these players back. You know, even in this game, Amari Cooper was like pretty damn close to a game time decision. And, you know, he ends up having 2 catches, 55 yards, both of them on long balls, but they were both beautiful touch passes from Allen, and it's something that I think we don't always see from Allen on the deep balls. He's kind of more of a, you know, fired in there on a line. These were 2 beautiful rainbow balls. Amari Cooper doing a great job tracking and bringing them in and doing that with an injured wrist. So I think that we're going into the bye on this high, rattling off a bunch of wins in a row, and you have the benefit of this late bye week, and pretty much division's already locked up, and you now get to kind of finish out the season competing for the 1 seed and really just focusing on staying hot and getting healthy. So I not really much to dislike from this game, but also kind of like the season trajectory standpoint of it. Talked a little bit about Terrel Bernard's interception. He also had a sack on the day. Von Miller was in the backfield with him. If he doesn't get there, Von Miller's cleaning that one up. We also had a combination. Ed Oliver hits Mahomes. Epinesa gets a pass breakup. Great to see Epinesa kind of continuing his trend of breaking up passes. It wasn't kind of like this flash in the pan. And Khalil Shakir, sorry, my notes are kind of all over the place. This was a really fun game. I kind of just kept writing down things I wanted to talk about. And Khalil Shakir is kind of where I'll wrap it up from things that I liked from this game. He's just been such a consistent player. And I remember when Cole Beasley left the Bills, there was like this continued conversation about like, we need to replace that Beasley role. And I think we have that now. We have that in Shakir, and we have that Beasley role like on steroids. And he's doing all the things that Beasley did, right? He's a possession receiver. He's making himself available, you know, for those crucial catches when Allen needs him. he's doing all that. And not to say Beasley didn't get, yards after catch, but there was a lot of times where, Beasley would like know that he secured the first down. He'd kind of get down, get to the next play. Khalil Shakir's run after catch ability is ridiculous. And he's so much fun with the ball in his hands. He's dangerous. He makes people miss. His shiftiness looks unconventional. Like I said, he makes people miss, but he'll also break tackles and bounce off people. Just super fun. And for a guy that, comes in 5th-round pick, kind of developing player, he's really connected with Allen, and he's become one of my favorite players on this team. Absolutely love watching him with the ball in his hands and, you know, kind of just continuing to develop that chemistry with Allen and be such an integral part of this offense. The one play in particular for him that stands out for me is I think it was a 3rd and 9, and he makes this catch like right at the sticks. It's a little bit behind him. He sees the contact coming, gets a shoulder like right through his midsection, and I'm immediately like, if that's me, I'm not getting up for that for quite some time. And he's able to hold on to the ball and extend that drive, and that leads to the scoring. That's the long score from Allen. That play doesn't happen without Shakir making that huge grab. It's, you're giving the ball back to the Chiefs and seeing what happens. So absolutely monumental play from him. I lied. One more guy I want to talk about. Mac Hollins. Love the role that he's carving out on this team. And I think there was some frustration with him early in the season of like, why is he getting these deep targets, whatever. And the Bills kind of needed him to have a bigger role in this passing offense, just, due to some injuries. Amari Cooper not being in the building yet, but kind of with this reduced role, Mac Hollins is like only making like clutch, smart veteran plays. And it seems like every time he gets the ball, it's a meaningful catch, and he's showing consistency with his hands. He's making plays. He gets out of bounds when he's supposed to. He stays in bounds when he should. Just for being, kind of your tail end of the depth chart wide receiver. Love what we're getting out of Mac Hollins. Like I said, we're heading into a bye week. This has been a really fun ride over the last 200 episodes of doing this show. I want to thank again everybody that's been there from the beginning, anybody that's joined along the way. Like I said, if this was your first episode, I appreciate you being here today. Like I said, we do have that special promo code going on, TWB200, over at wanderingbuff.com for any of the merchandise. And we're trying to work up something special for the bye week here. There's another guy in the space that done quite a few episodes with over the years. We're trying to link up for a special bye week episode, kind of something special to continue giving back to all of the fans of the show that have been here. If you've made it through 200 episodes, if you've made it through 100, however many you've been here for, if you're enjoying the show, as always, I ask that you like, share, subscribe, tell a friend about the show. It helps us, hopefully, going 200 more into the future. I do appreciate you being here. With the bye week and this special episode we're trying to cook up, not sure if we're going to be consistent on our release date here. So like I said, make sure you're subscribed so you're not missing that episode. This season's fun, right? So I urge everybody to let's enjoy it while it's happening. The playoffs are coming. We're going to get there. That's like a whole nother season. Enjoy the season while it's here. Enjoy the success that we have as this Bills team. Just continuing to put a good product on the field. Last thing I want to say, you've probably noticed it throughout this episode. very nasally, still dealing with a sickness that's been on and off for weeks. Appreciate you dealing with my nasally ass. Hopefully by the time we get to the next episode, cleared up, feeling better. The changing seasons, the up and down with the weather, it just wreaks havoc on my body. So I thank you for dealing with that. Wanted to kind of soldier through and make sure we're getting you an episode this week, especially with kind of the gravity of this game. And thank you again for being here. Thank you again for any future episodes. And enjoy this bye week. I know I'm going to try to be like the Bills, rest up, get healthy, and coming back at you with a big game against the Niners outside of the break. Stay locked in for this bonus episode bye week coming up. And until then, as always, go Bills.